Final week of the side quest. Hi everybody, hope you're doing well. Welcome to a new video. This is probably a Thursday video. Now, I'm noticing as well, this X-Men sign is very weirdly lit. It's something that I've got to change once I finish a advert that I'm doing for a company. It's not going to be a sponsor thing on the channel. I'm doing an advert that's going to go out. You may even have seen me on a few things, which I'm project-wise I'm working on. Anyway, the side quest, this right here. I tried to put a bit of notes in the description because there's some scary things and some not so scary things. And I've been experimenting with champions and not experimenting with champions. That sounds weird, doesn't it, saying that? Anyway, look, talk about fights. We'll also put some footage on screen of things in action and some of the various nodes. Things that worked, things that didn't. Because, hey, guess what? In MCOC, things work. And other times, they don't. On the first fight, you're likely to see Spider-Man, Stark Enhanced, or Ultron. Both tech champions. They're all tech champions. Footloose can be a bit annoying. In theory, yes. In theory, no. An evade counter is going to be very helpful here. And there are quite a few out there that would be quite helpful. So, for my recommendation for this, She-Hulk, Silver Centurion, Mole Man, Bullseye, if you can rotate quickly to an SP1. Falcon. Nick Fury. Did I say Mole Man? Anyway. Serpent, if you can get his true focus buff up quick enough. And you might be thinking, well, that doesn't really necessarily deal with the unstoppable. If you've got She-Hulk, if you've got a slow debuff, which is why Silver Centurion is mentioned, then that can be a great asset. If you can deal with the unstoppable, then you can focus on the evade. And I think focusing on the evade is probably the main thing to do. Beta Ray Bill does have his grit buff, which is allowing him to suppress the... what is it called? Yeah, so it allows him to suppress the unstoppable, but might not be able to deal with the evade. So you have to make a decision about what is going to be key for the interaction, key for the fight, key for what is going to be good or bad about it that you're not going to really like. And hey, you might like some things, you might not like things. Moving on to the second fight. The second fight is fight or flight. Can't stop, won't stop. If you've got a champion that's got unstoppable as part of their kit, I don't know if you could say... No, I was about to recommend something that's going to look a bit out there. That Thing comes to mind as a champion with an unstoppable buff. There are quite a few champions out there that have got an unstoppable buff as part of their kit. I was about to say Weapon X, but that's a stupid thing to say, isn't it? Choose Weapon X. Oh, because he's class disadvantage, isn't it? Unstoppable buff into Google always comes up with a list of champions that can be helpful. Juggernaut. God damn sake. Why didn't I use Juggernaut on this one? Juggernaut would have been a great champion to do it. I've still got 2 more runs to do. I did like a few runs already into here. But you didn't really have to sweat about using any different champions. That's one of the main things. You don't have to sweat about going, oh, I must use this champion, or I must use that champion. I think any champion works. If you wanted to build up 3 of your strength for Hercules, and that's going to be like really helpful. You can do that quite nicely. There are some other champions out that you could use, like you could use Gallon, depending on the rotation to get there. For can't stop, won't stop, because you do damage while having an unstoppable. Apart from that, a lot of them are Mangog, yeah. Man-Thing, yeah. Okay. Thing we mentioned. The champion, maybe, if I'm being honest, it may not be an actual need requirement or actually kind of point to bringing in something that's specifically with unstoppable, because then you have to go, well, I've got to, use it elsewhere. But Gallon could clear the entirety of the quest. Hercules could clear the entirety of the quest. Those champions are great. Gallon is, wow, if they had a 7-star Gallon, I'm a massive fan of Gallon. I rank 5. Did I rank 5 my Gallon? Either way, great champion. I think he should be like a Battlegrounds nuker. I've got to do a Battlegrounds nuking video. I really do, but it's on a slate of list which now goes into next week and next month. And I tell you what, it's going to be difficult to find the time. But I will try wherever I can to do some more content. I've got to do better with stuff, but I'm not a machine. I need to have some rest time. I've got other things on at the moment, but I do love the game. Don't love it when the AI is rubbish, and the AI in this game is just plain stupid and dumb. And thankfully, Kabam, I'm going to look into it. Take it with a pinch of salt, because I'll see you next year when we say exactly the same thing. And the year after that. And after that, and after that, and after that, depending on how long this goes on for. But we always seem to come back to the same thing. Inputs, AI, always need to be revisited, because it just goes by the wayside if it's not kept up to date. And this is a fighting game, and when the controls and the fundamentals around fighting are weaker, not as good, not in tune, not optimized, then of course we've got problems. Anyway, moving on to the third fight, heal or hide. I would recommend just hitting the enemy. Being close to the enemy means they get a regen buff. If they get a regen buff, they take damage because of Spectre right there. Go figure. That's how you do it with the countering side of things. For this, Hercules, Gallon, any kind of cosmic champion that is able to take you from what, like, I completely forgot to mention it. Gladiator for this fight here. SP1. Come on, Rich. Wakey wakey. Use Gallon. No, use Gladiator. Great champion for that SP1 rotation. Chef's kiss. I'll put that in my notes in the description. Gladiator, Gallon, and various others who have unstoppable buff. There you go. Go figure. Anyway, final fight is going to be against Arcade and Tricky Defender. You have on this one, resistance is futile. Whenever the attacker would receive an effect they are immune to, the defender gains a non-stacking power gain passive. Oh, for this, I was trying to use Hercules. I messed up. I found a better solution in using Nick Fury. I found that I was able to do a lot of bleed damage, and that again was helpful. Stand still. Whenever the attacker dodges an attack, the defender gains an indefinite Fury passive. Ooh, yep, that's a bit stinky. I'm not saying I tried to dodge it. I tried to be in my block as much as possible, and then I tried to be a bit smart-ass and do a bit of dodging. At the end of the day, keep into a block and then try and hit out a block. Try not to parry, I think, as well. That's a bit of an issue. Yep, we'll come back to that. We'll come to that in a second. Cold Turkey, whenever the attacker purifies or cleanses a debuff, take a burst of degen damage. So don't try and purify and cleanse. Some really weird setups with nodes on this recently. Don't know what Kabam are up to with it. Rise to power, whenever the defender is knocked down, 4-second timer. While active, each time the defender lands a hit or strikes into the block, they gain 30% of firepower. I kind of felt like, don't knock this champion down. Hit out from block was the way to go. That's why Nick Fury was kind of like an option. Yeah, I did end up knocking him down. But I just get bored. Like, it would just bore the hell out of me. So, you got to do what you got to do. Hercules could do this if you want to play aggressively. Other nukers could be very kind of like helpful in this one. Gallon, again, another example. But the time you knock down, or knock down quite so much, will be the last time. Of course, SP1 rotations. Or just do medium until we get like to an SP2 and then do it. Or get to an SP3. Or just build past there. Your choice on how you want to rotate around champions. Defender's Wild Time blocks reduce damage of an additional 25% if contact is made by basic attacks. The attacker is afflicted with a stun debuff for 1 second. This is why it's handy with what is it called, with Nick Fury, because he in phase 2 is stun immune. So that is, I think it's stun immune, or it's like stun resistant or some type of stuff like that. Anyway, those are the champions. This has been the team. This was my favourite team that I used. Dr. Doom, Hercules, Nick Fury. Dr. Doom was taking on the first fight because he could have access to the dealing with Footloose to suppress the buffs, because you could do the stagger rotation or suppress buffs in general. There's also fight 2, an opportunity to use, just using Dr. Doom again. And also against the last fight. But if I'm using Hercules, which I did, he was trying to build up, trying to ramp up strength. And I didn't ramp up enough strength because I was too much focused on experimenting with champions and ended up just kind of tanking my fight because I just played terribly against Arcade, and found that some of the nodes benefited me having a different focus point of what was annoying for me. And of course, for some other people, they were like, well, I use Hercules. They'll say, I'll use Hercules or use Champion, absolutely fine. Don't know what you're talking about. Each to their own with how they choose to take things down. As I said, for me, it was all about trying to do less parries, keep in a block stance as much as possible, and not knock down as much as I could, and try and build up, just say, on that bleed damage off of the last light, or at least trying to do some mediums to build up my bleeds, to get deep wounds, and therefore do my rotation correctly. But I did get bored partway through the fight, and that was like, oh, I can't stand this. I need to get this fight over with. I'm just getting too bored. Anyway, who do you use? Who was effective for you? Put it in the comments. Check out some other content located on screen, and have a lovely day. Bye-bye for now. Bye.